Imagine, if you will, and if you can, being a junior doctor on the wards with an end of life patient who's in terrible pain, who takes high dose opioid medication where the slightest misprescription can be fatal. You then have the fact that you're there through the night and the support of the hospital through the day just isn't there, and you want to get the dose right, but you don't have a second opinion to go on, and you don't want to miss dose, so you're stuck. That's the impossible position Roger Flint found himself in many years ago as a junior doctor in Tayside, where he had such a patient and there was no backup for him in the middle of the night, couldn't find a second opinion because there were no doctors around, and he just had to wait. Now, through no fault of his own, the patient was therefore in pain for a little while, and eventually the dosage was given with a second opinion when a doctor did become available. But Roger went away thinking that that should never happen. And as an advanced thinker in medicine, Roger thought there must be a way for technology to fix this. That's when Roger turned to Waracle as app developers in Scotland to think about how that might be done and how to build an app that takes that really hard decision to a standard calculation that you can perform in real time in front of the patient on a device and be able to carry on and take them out of pain as soon as you can. Roger engaged Waracle because Waracle had a long history of working with major pharmaceuticals and other health companies to build leading edge apps that did this sort of work with the level of rigor and regulation and compliance that comes with them. Because when you're dealing with things like people's lives, it can't go wrong. There's levels of testing that you have to get right, but more than that, there are public regulations and certification bodies before an organisation like the NHS would let you anywhere near their staff and patients with an app performing this sort of life-saving calculation. So not only did Waracle go through its standard process of designing an app that was simple to use, straightforward to deploy to people, and fitted the spec that Roger gave it, it had to work. And it had to go through levels of quality assurance way beyond anything you would ever expect. So having formulary calculations, such as they are for pharmaceuticals, there were maybe multiple ways to calculate this dosage. Waracle had to find the simplest one that met the regulations and came out with the dose you require. But more than that, what we were actually building here for Roger was a medical device, equivalent to a piece of hardware you would see in a hospital ward. It was built to that level of specification. The way medical devices are built, you start really thinking you're going in agile. So you can start with the idea, develop it, design it, iterate until you're happy. You can't do it with medical devices to that level. You start with a blueprint. The blueprint is effectively quite old school, like an architectural blueprint that says what the app is going to do, how it's going to do it, and prove how you're going to test that it's doing what you say it will. That blueprint then underpins every piece of work that happens in the app. And as development carries on, everything refers back to that blueprint to the extent that you don't quite have to tear up the blueprint and start again if you change any settings or any outcomes along the way. But not far from it, you have to follow a quality management process that's incredibly strict, because at the end of that process, you come out with documentation, which is then sent to regulatory bodies to prove the app is doing what it says to the standard required, and that it can pass certification to be CE marked in this case, or FDA approved if it was the United States, or that kind of thing, where a slip up can cause jail time if you get it wrong. So the levels of rigor, as I say, for this app were way beyond anything most people in app development ever see. But it's one of Waracle's specialities, that we were able to give Roger both an app that did the job of helping him keep people out of pain and potentially saving lives, where misdosing would be at the extreme end, to something in people's hands that not only worked, verifiably worked, but carried a certification that it met the standard required for the NHS to allow people to use it. Therefore, at the end of the day, you have an app that works, is trusted, but ultimately saves lives. And that's really what we're here to do, to help people like Roger take their ideas from having a bad moment in the night to a brainwave that might resolve it to an app in people's hands that does save lives. That's what we do at Waracle, and we hope you like more of these stories over time.